Hello, everyone. My name is Seth, and today I'm going to give you my review of Captain America Brave New World. Captain America Brave New World was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and I finally got time to sit down and watch it. And I'll tell you what, this movie is overhated. It should not have as low of a score on Rotten Tomatoes as it is. People should not be talking about it as negatively as they do on social media. But before we dive into that, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. We're getting closer and closer to 300 subscribers, so if you're new here, please consider subscribing, and if you're not new here, please share this video around with any friends or family. It'll help the channel grow and it'll absolutely make my day. So right now, this film has, I believe, a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I think that's way too low. I understand how Rotten Tomatoes works. I know that basically means like 48% of critics would give it like a 6 out of 10 and they would recommend it. They would say that they like the film, but I think that's way too low of a percentage still. I think the critics had it wrong, quite honestly. And even though this film isn't a masterpiece by any means, it's quite a bit better than 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. Honestly, I think like low 70s, high 60s. I think that's probably about where it should land based on my judgment. But if you don't know, this film famously had some pretty significant rewrites and reshoots, but I will give them credit. I don't think for the most part it really affects the movie that much. If I had to take a guess, I would say most of the rewrites and reshoots took place probably around the third act because that part feels the most different from the rest of the film. And I think the third act is kind of where it comes apart a little bit. It's not like a complete disaster, but it's not as good as the first two acts. But overall, I thought the pacing throughout this film was really good up until the third act. Like I said, I don't think it completely falls apart, but it just feels like it's from a different movie. The first part of this film really is like Winter Soldier light. It kind of has that pacing, has the slow burn. It's building tension. You have this kind of conspiracy going on, and I really, really like that. That's about 70% of the film, I would say. But while I think this last bit of the film, the last act, is still, it's pretty good, I still think it's not nearly as good as what they gave us the first two acts. It just doesn't really fit what the rest of the film has set up. Obviously, you can go in and have kind of like a big over-the-top finale. That's not really my complaint because The Winter Soldier still had like a big finale. I just feel like once we have like a couple of reveals getting into the third act, the story just kind of loses momentum. If they were able to keep up that intensity and the intrigue that they did through the first two acts of the film all the way through the end, I think we would be talking about a really, really good film. But I will say that that first part of the film is good enough to where maybe when the ending falls flat a little bit, overall, I still had a good time. I still thought this was overall a good film. In this, they deal with a lot of loose threads in the MCU, dealing with Tiamat in the Indian Ocean, coming up out of the earth, all the way back to some things from The Incredible Hulk. And I think for the most part, they did a pretty good job working with those loose threads. I think they did a pretty good job of explaining kind of what's been going on with Samuel Stearns over the years and basically what's been happening with Ross and Stearns over like the last 15, 17 years. I like how that kind of gives more depth to Ross's character, even with the decisions we see him make in films like Civil War or Infinity War. We really don't get a ton with Tiamat coming out of the ocean other than it kind of sets up a plot point of adamantium and it sets up a plot point of kind of contention between the nations. But it does introduce adamantium to the MCU, which obviously they're going to do something more from here on out with it. I think it was kind of a tall task to use this film to tie up a lot of different loose ends, but I think it mostly worked. It definitely wasn't perfect, but I was at least satisfied by it. And as far as the writing goes, I think the characters that we focus on, for the most part, are pretty well written and entertaining. I think this is a good outing for Sam Wilson. We really get to see him kind of full-fledged step into the Captain America role, and I really like it. I bought it. I like that he still struggles with the legacy of Steve Rogers. And I love how we get to see him just kind of continue to work through that as he forges his way into being his own superhero. While we do get to see that, I wish we did get more depth I wish we did get to dive into his character just a little bit deeper. But everything we got from Sam was good. I just wish we could dig a little bit deeper into that. And honestly, I couldn't tell you much about the character of Joaquin Torres from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's no disrespect to Danny Ramirez, who plays him both in Falcon and the Winter Soldier and again here, but I loved the character here. He was a fun character and he got some time to shine, and he had some great chemistry with Sam Wilson. And honestly, from this film, I'm excited to see this character back in future projects. I am glad we got to spend a little bit more time with the character of Isaiah Bradley. We didn't get a ton. Most of his stuff came pretty much in the first act of the film. What happens with his character is kind of like the catalyst for this whole film. So although we didn't get like a ton from him, I still liked getting to spend time with this character again. And I really liked what they did with Ross in this film. He's probably the most complex character in this whole film. Like, he's not just an antagonist. He's not necessarily just a protagonist either. He's not like an evil person. He's not a bad guy. He's made bad decisions with the hope that these decisions can lead to actual good. I don't know the most about the leader from the comics, but from my understanding, I believe they changed the character and the powers of the leader for this film just a little bit. Those changes didn't bother me, really. I just wish that this character had more depth to him. He's kind of one note, kind of one-dimensional, very much so has the problems of some of the other MCU villains, where it's just kind of like, yeah, they're the villain, they're there, it's kind of whatever. He's just that serviceable Marvel villain that maybe we'll see again, maybe we won't. I kind of hope we get to see him again. I think there's potential for this character going forward, but, we'll see. I think the character that I would say is the most forgettable about this film is the character of Ruth. She's a former Black Widow, and she's kind of the head of President Ross's security detail. There's just not a lot given to her. There's just not a lot in the script for her to do. There's not really any depth for her. So she's just kind of there. And since I'm kind of on the topic of characters, I do want to mention that it seems kind of odd to me that Bruce Banner isn't at all connected to the story. He doesn't have anything to do with the story whatsoever, considering we're dealing with Thaddeus Ross, Red Hulk, the leader. Like, it would make sense at least for Sam to give him a call and have a conversation about this, but that's not even a thing. That just kind of felt odd. I understand, even though it's a connected universe, not everybody needs to show up. I'm not one of those people that says like, oh, well, why didn't this person show up with this thing going on wherever? Like, I understand these characters have different things going on, but it just kind of felt off to me that Bruce Banner had no role in this whatsoever. Moving on to the performances, Anthony Mackie's great. He's super charismatic, and if you watched him in anything, you know that's one thing he's definitely going to bring every time, and he brings it here. He's great in this. He's just so fun and charismatic and charming. He can play the lighthearted parts really well, but when he has to dig deep and get serious, he does that really well too. He has some good emotional moments. He has some good funny moments in this, and overall, I think he did a really good job leading this film. I was a little concerned about kind of taking this side character, taking this TV show character, and making this character a lead in the film, but Anthony Mackie did a good enough job with his performance that he just kind of carried right through that. Anthony Mackie had great chemistry with the whole cast, but especially with Danny Ramirez. They were fun together, and based off of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I didn't really know how I felt about him being the new Falcon, but after this film, I'm all for it. Like I mentioned earlier, I couldn't really tell you anything about this character from the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, but from what I saw in this film and from Danny's performance, I'm excited to see him back for Avengers Doomsday. He was good in this. He was much more memorable in this film than he was in the show, and he's just a lot of fun. He's funny. He's also very charismatic. His role in this was really more of the sidekick, more of the comedic relief, but he absolutely nailed it. Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford. He's awesome. He's an all-time great, and even though this could have been a film where, you might could have slept walk through it. You've done so much in your career. Some people could have just seen this as like a whatever role, whatever comic book movie, but he didn't do that here. I mean, there's not much more about Harrison Ford that I can say that hasn't already been said. There's a reason he's an all-time great. He looked like he was having a lot of fun filming this. He brings the intensity that you want from Ross, but it's also really nice to get to see a little bit of a softer side of him when he's talking about Betty. It's just really awesome that we got Harrison Ford in a Marvel film, and I think Ross was probably a perfect character for him to play. He's great, he's awesome, and I really hope we get to see more from Harrison Ford and this character in the future. Even though we didn't get a ton of screen time from him, Carl Lumbly gave honestly a powerhouse performance. There was just one scene while I was in the theater watching, and I just thought to myself, wow, he's just doing a really good job. He's giving a good performance. I would have loved to see more from him in this role, but he does an incredible job with the time he's given. I think his performance really makes an impact in this film. The action in this film is a lot of fun. I think the hand-to-hand combat stuff was great. It also kind of reminded me of the Winter Soldier. It's energetic, but you can also clearly see what's going on. I think the aerial stuff in this is also a huge highlight. I think they really knew what they were doing with some of those aerial sequences. That whole sequence over Tiamat was awesome to see on a big screen. I think it's super exciting and incredibly well filmed. And as far as the CGI goes, I know in the past, Marvel has had some iffy CGI. There's been times in the last few films where it's been hit or miss, but I think for the most part in this film, it's just really good, really solid CGI. Honestly, I can only think of one shot that just really didn't look good, and that was just one shot toward the end, and you could tell it was like some obvious bad green screen. But honestly, the rest of the visual effects in this film just looked really good, really solid to me. So can I call this a new Marvel classic? No, but it definitely is not nearly as bad as a lot of other people have said. I think overall, I just have to say this film is pretty good. There's definitely some issues that show up, especially in the third act. But the first couple acts were really good, really reminded me of the Winter Soldier, and overall, I enjoyed it. I'd recommend you to watch this film if you haven't already. It's definitely not a 40-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's a fun and engaging thriller for the majority of the film, and has some good and fun performances from basically everybody in the cast. Honestly, I had a lot of fun with this film, and I hope you did. I'm gonna give Brave New World a 3.5 out of 5. But that's it. That's my review of Captain America: Brave New World. Have you seen this film? Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. Are you kind of on my side? Do you think that 40-something% on Rotten Tomatoes is too low? Or do you think that's just about right? Did you not like this film? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. You can follow me on social media pretty much anywhere at CinemaSeth, and I'll see you next time.